Jeffrey.
Standard time, right?
Sure. Good. So, welcome everyone. We're gathered here today because we have Mayor Wu, who is here on the day that Donald Trump, in his State of the Union address, is going to lay out his attack on the business plan for Boston and for Massachusetts. And we are gathered here today in order to make it very clear that we are going to defend that business plan, that identity of who we are as a city and as a state. This is the Small Business Committee. I am the lead Democrat on the Small Business Committee. We're a state of 7 million people in Massachusetts. We have 700,000 small businesses. And the plan that Donald Trump has laid out is a direct attack on all of our efforts over the years to create the best state, not just the Bay State, but the brain state. That's who we are. So we're gathered here with incredible leaders from across the Commonwealth whose programs are under assault. The business plan for Boston and for Massachusetts is very simple. We draw the smartest young people in America and around the world to come to school in Massachusetts. We then help to get them access to the capital they're going to need to start up new companies, small companies. Third, we make sure that they have the best trained and best educated workforce in the United States of America. That's who we are. What Donald Trump is doing is launching an attack on the funding for Medicaid, health care. We call it Mass Health in Massachusetts. The Affordable Care Act, 700,000 people in Massachusetts are on the Affordable Care Act. Title I is the poor children, the kids who need a little extra help. That funding is under assault. The funding for disabled children, disabled citizens. We have 330,000 people in Massachusetts who receive funding because of Medicaid, and we have hundreds of thousands of others who receive help through the educational programs. That's who we are. That's our business plan. So when Donald Trump talks about his vision for the future, we see him looking in a rearview mirror. He wants to cut $450 million out of our clean energy economy. We have the Green New Deal mayor with us. It's a vision for the future. It's looking ahead and leading the way for future generations. That's what is under assault. NIH funding, Medicaid funding, National Science Foundation funding, NIST funding, all of it goes right to the heart of who we are. And so we're here just to say that we are going to fight Donald Trump. We are not going to allow him to loot the future of Boston to pay for billionaire tax breaks. That's just not something that is acceptable to our delegation, to our state, and I know to Mayor Wu. So this is just to make it very clear that we are going to stand tall and strong and have the back of the city of Boston as Donald Trump and his colleagues, put it generously, are seeking to try to attack us. Okay, that's not going to happen. We are very proud of our city. We're proud of what it stands for, and we're going to stand and fight. And no one knows how to fight better than Senator Elizabeth Warren. Welcome.
Right, thank you. Welcome. And I want to say, come over here. We are all here today as the federal representatives of the 7 million people of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And we stand proudly with the mayor of Boston, who has been invited, I think that's still the word, she has been invited by the Republicans to come and defend Boston and to defend the values that we fight for every day in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So we want to be here in part to talk about what this fight is about. Over the last 6 weeks, Donald Trump has created a sandstorm of chaos to try to distract us from his real agenda. Tax cuts for billionaires paid for by cuts to health care and Social Security. These are programs that mamas and daddies and babies and seniors rely on every single day. Trump and his unelected co-president, Elon Musk, are dismantling our government piece by piece so that it works better for those same billionaires and worse for everyone else. The whole Republican plan fits on a bumper sticker. Billionaires win, families lose. Trump promised, you may remember, to lower costs on day one. Instead, he and co-president Musk have tried to fire the financial cops that keep Americans from getting cheated. They have slashed funding that supports research for cures for cancer and Alzheimer's, and they have fired thousands of hardworking public servants, including the people who keep us safe when we fly on airplanes, the people who make sure that nuclear materials are safely stored, and people who inspect our food. One of those hardworking public servants is Doug. Up until 2 weeks ago, Doug worked at the National Science Foundation until out of nowhere he was fired, along with over 100 of his colleagues. And I've invited Doug here today to share his story. Doug, come on over.
Thank you. So after 6 years of service at the National Science Foundation, I was fired 2 weeks ago from today. And me, along with 167 of my colleagues, were called into a Zoom meeting to get a mass termination firing with no cause. And this doesn't just impact me. This impacts all of Massachusetts, right? A limited workforce at NSF or NIST or NIH, that jeopardizes the billions of federal investments that directly fund our top-notch research and researchers in Massachusetts and powers our local economy. So I'm scared for this country. Millions of Americans who have dedicated their lives and dedicated their careers to this country are suffering because of unelected billionaires. I'm here with Senator Warren to fight back against these illegal terminations and to stand up for hardworking civil servants. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doug. And I appreciate Doug being here. I just want to say this is what happens when you go to town halls. I had a town hall in Framingham a week ago, and Doug stood up and told his story, as have lots of other people in Massachusetts. I would say the biggest question at that town hall is, what can we do? And Doug is living proof of what we can do. We can tell our stories because they matter. We build a grassroots movement across this story by not using big words and abstract terms, but by telling the story person by person by person about what kind of work you do and what it means when you just get called in and told you're fired because it fits in someone else's political agenda. So thank you for being here, Doug.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, I just want to say, Doug is standing up, he's pushing back, and that's what we've all got to do. Senator Markey?
Thank you. And we have like the greatest delegation in America.
Oh, that's
You're going to hear from each one of them. But representing all the workers of the state, union and non-union, making sure that we have the most worker-friendly state, but a lot of that's under assault. We are fortunate to have with us Chrissy Lynch, the president of the AFL-CIO of the great state of Massachusetts. Welcome, Chrissy.
Thank you very much, Senator. Look, in just only 6 weeks, President Trump and unelected billionaire co-president Elon Musk have made it crystal clear that they are there to enrich themselves, at the expense of working people. They are taking a wrecking ball to our country, and they don't care who or what gets caught up in the destruction. They are weaponizing massive cuts, and they are applauding mass unemployment. They are causing all of this suffering to fund huge tax breaks and shady government contracts for themselves and their billionaire buddies. The Massachusetts labor movement is proud to stand in solidarity with the best delegation in the country to fight back against these attacks, because working people should not be harmed by the richest people in the country. It's immoral, it's wrong, and we're here to fight. Thank you.
That's great. Beautiful. Next, the Minority Whip of the United States House of Representatives, Catherine Clark. Welcome.
Thank you. I am so pleased to be here with our senators, our delegation, and our incredible Mayor Wu. All my Bay State colleagues and everyone who is behind me and at home. The last 6 weeks have been a daily barrage of attacks on the Commonwealth, our communities, and our constituents. Republicans have the trifecta here in Washington. That means they can do whatever they want, anytime, and to whomever. They can deliver if they choose to, for the hardworking people in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But instead, they are not even keeping the most basic promise to the people of this country. They have chosen to fight for their ultra-rich donors. And that starts but doesn't end with Elon Musk. Republicans have made a choice to gut health coverage for kids, for parents, for seniors, to slash food assistance and school lunch, to defund our public schools, to attack our community health centers, to dismantle Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, all to pad the pockets of the billionaire class with more money, more contracts, and more tax cuts. But even then, it's not enough. Now they're going after cancer research. Think about this. Elon Musk makes more in a single day than the NIH spends all year researching childhood cancer. More in a day. And still, he wants more money in his pocket, out of yours into his. So he's ordered the congressional Republicans to defund the research, funnel the money, and use it to cut his taxes. I cannot imagine a more terrible nightmare than learning your young child has a serious cancer diagnosis. What a heartless act of cruelty to tell a mother that her government is ending the research that could potentially save her child's life. That is exactly what Republicans in Congress have decided to do. And it's the most vulnerable Americans and our children who they think should pay the price. I am so pleased to be joined for this presidential address by my constituent, Sarah Robleski. She knows all too well what the stakes are and what it means for her family and families around this country. Sarah, thank you for joining me today, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a complete honor. My name is Sarah Robleski, and I am here today as the mom of the bravest 4-year-old you'd ever meet. His name's Declan. He's one of 4. Back in August of 2023, after weeks of headaches, an MRI revealed that he had a golf ball-sized tumor in the back of his brain. Declan was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer. In an instant, our world felt shattered. Declan had to go through months of intense chemotherapy, and he had to have 3 stem cell transplants. The treatment was excruciating, it was toxic. He was left with significant impairments from hearing loss to brain damage. But he never stopped fighting. That's just who he is. And it did work. for now, but Declan's doctors tell us his cancer is the kind that comes back. It always does. 9 months post-treatment, Declan is part of a new clinical drug trial, and his scans continue to be clear, nothing short of remarkable. When your child is diagnosed with cancer, you know the road is going to be challenging, and your family is prepared for so much. But I never imagined I would be so graciously asked to come here to Washington to beg our government to do right by our kids. I am here on behalf of all the parents who right now are sitting in the hospital rooms fighting alongside their children. When it comes to finding less toxic treatments and life-saving cures for kids battling cancer, we do not have a single day to spare. This is not about politics, bureaucracies, or efficiencies. It's about families who are literally holding their breath, hoping tomorrow brings the breakthrough that will save their child's life. Cutting NIH funding will cost those families, my family, precious hope, and it will certainly cost children their lives. Even a slight pause or interruption to ongoing studies will have devastating consequences. NIH studies have helped keep Declan alive, and it very well could be a study now, at this moment, that will save his life in the future. So please, protect the funding. Help save our kids. I want Declan to not just be known as the 4-year-old with brain cancer, but as an adult who survived it. He's a fighter, and we need everyone to fight alongside him. Thank you.
Beautiful show.
Thank you.
And now we're going to hear from the ranking member of the Rules Committee in the House of Representatives, Jim McGovern.
I'm proud to stand here with our delegation. I'm proud to stand here with leaders in the faith-based community, labor community, the civil rights community. I'm proud to be here with all of the guests that have come to be in Washington on this day. And I'm proud to be here with Mayor Wu, and I'm proud to be from Massachusetts, where we actually celebrate our diversity and respect the human dignity of every single person who lives in our Commonwealth. As my colleagues have said, the last 6 weeks have been a disaster for the American people. With Donald Trump and Republicans in charge, we've seen chaos, we've seen cruelty and corruption, and not a single goddamn thing to lower costs. In fact, Trump is making things worse. Groceries keep going up. Eggs are through the roof, and the tariffs he just put in place will make prices skyrocket. These guys aren't lowering prices, they're raising them. And at the same time, they're gutting programs that people rely on just so they can hand out tax breaks to their billionaire friends. They don't care about us. Their life is so different from all of us. When's the last time Elon Musk ever walked into a grocery store or had to worry about paying a health care bill? And that's why I invited Sue Kohler from Leominster in my district to be here today. Her son, Sean, is a person with a disability and completely relies on Medicaid for the doctors, medications, and therapies that he needs. He's contributing to our community more than most, and he can do that because he has access to the care that allows him to thrive. Sue has dedicated her life to making sure that Sean has every opportunity to succeed. She didn't ask to be on the front lines of this fight. She just wants everyone to know we want her to know that her country has her back. But because of Republicans' greed and cruelty, families like Sue's can see their benefits slashed. That is not leadership. That is cruelty. That is cowardice. And we refuse to stand by while they sell out working families to the highest bidder. I want Trump and Republicans in Congress to look her in the eye and explain to her why her son's health care is less important than their tax giveaways to the ultra-rich. I don't know what the hell is wrong with these people, but they certainly do not belong in government. And with that, let me introduce Sue, who will give you a little background about her situation.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for the delegation of Massachusetts. So my name is Sue Kohler, and I'm from Massachusetts, and I believe these Medicaid cuts are morally and ethically inhumane. This is a lifeline for many of the disadvantaged and disabled people in our country. My son was diagnosed at 9 weeks old with a brain tumor. He's legally blind. I've spent all 39 years of his life fighting for his education, now I have to fight for medicine. His drugs are $6,500 a month. I don't know what I would do if Medicaid is cut and we don't have access to that money. I just don't know. He gets Botox. He has many different services that he also receives. It's overwhelming for families to have a person with disabilities and to take care of them, but this is more overwhelming to not know if they're going to be covered in the future. It's a horrible feeling, and I feel like we're all being thrown into the wolves at this point. So I really would hope that Congress considers funding Medicaid for the level we need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now going to the city of Boston.
Yeah.
And Ayanna Pressley, who knows how to fight every single day.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Here, so work with me. Okay, all right. Yeah, I was emotional coming into the Russell Building today because 30 plus years ago, this was a building that I entered every day as a young aide to United States Senator John Kerry. And I never could have anticipated or predicted that one day I would be a member of Congress in this esteemed Massachusetts delegation. But even if I had thought that, I never thought that I would have to come and stand shoulder to shoulder with people in defiance to a dictator. And that is truly the moment that we find ourselves in. So it is an honor to serve alongside these incredible fighters each and every day. Thank you to Senator Markey, Senator Warren, our delegation partners for their solidarity, and to our community leaders and constituents who made the trip to Washington to be with us today. What you are hearing in this moment is the real State of the Union. Not lies, not propaganda, not a dangerous, dystopian, draconian vision for this country, not more forecasts for executive actions rolled out that are everything to do with actions to the people and not for them. This is the real State of the Union right here. I am so proud of the vibrant, diverse communities that call Massachusetts home. I'm deeply honored to work for the people of the Massachusetts 7th here in Congress. I carry your stories with me daily, and I know right now many folks back home are feeling scared and they feel small. And that is the whole point. In flooding the zone, shock and awe, and to make you feel that these proposals, that this vision for our country is an inevitability, and that you are powerless to do anything about it. This White House, this hostile White House, is raining down cruel, and let me underscore, unlawful executive actions, and they are looking for every tool available to exact harm on the most vulnerable. Everyone will feel this hurt, but the most vulnerable will feel it most of all. But in stark contrast, back home in Massachusetts, I'm so grateful that we have people standing up for their neighbors, standing in the gap, meeting the moment. Dr. King challenged us to make a choice, chaos or community. And we find ourselves in a moment of chaos, callousness, cruelty, and corruption. And what is the antidote to that? It is community. We are assembled here today because we've chosen community, a beloved community that is welcoming and compassionate, because we believe in our bones from all walks of life, people deserve decency and dignity. Like the mother of 3 from my district who is in the midst of an NIH trial hoping it slows her cancer and bides her time with her precious babies. Like the veteran from Randolph who turns to the VA for essential mental health care that provides him the stability he needs to work and live independently. Like the young family from my district who cried the day their youngest got a slot in a Head Start classroom, knowing he was safe and in the loving care of dedicated teachers. Government is not sheets of paper, static documents that live on shelves. It is the funding and the policies and the dedicated workforce of government that quite literally determine who lives, who dies, who survives, and who thrives. Government is about making this nation livable for everyone who resides here. It is the mundane and it is the extraordinary, from picking up the trash to finding cures for cancer. And at its best, government makes life easier and more predictable for all of us. It enables us not just to survive, but to thrive. In sharp contrast, this White House and their co-conspirators in Congress are trying to break every piece of the federal government and sell it for parts. Elon Musk and his vice president, Donald Trump, said that they will cut costs for families and make government more efficient, but that is a bold-faced lie. They are trying to cut millions of dollars from life-saving programs our communities depend on. This has never been about efficiency. You tell me what is efficient about making people sicker? What is efficient about making people hungrier? What is efficient about making people more vulnerable? Tell me how it is efficient to buy more toy rockets for Donald Trump's billionaire friends while parents cannot afford groceries. The cruelty is the actual point. I'm reminded of Bishop Budd's appeal to Donald Trump at her faith house. Have mercy. We have made appeals for mercy, for common sense, for centering the American people, but we continue to be met with chaos and cruelty. This evening, when Trump delivers his joint address to Congress, I'll be joined by Claire Bergstresser, a remarkable advocate and a constituent from Everett, shout out to Everett, who represents the story of the federal workforce, dedicated public servants working day in and day out to strengthen our communities and to serve our country. I first met Claire after I'd organized a rapid response roundtable to hear from impacted federal workers after the unlawful actions taken by DOJ in terminating probationary federal workers. I reached out to my friends at AFG, and they helped us to organize this roundtable, and that's where I first met Claire. And she left an incredible impression on me because this was 26 hours after her termination from a job that she was damn good at, that served the people in our communities. And her first concern, her primary concern, was not her life, which had been disrupted, but of the disservice that would be caused to the people and communities that she served in her position at HUD. That was her first concern, was about the unfinished work. As a federal worker and a person with a disability who has dedicated her life to giving back to our communities, her intersectional story is a powerful reminder of why we must continue pushing back against Donald Trump and Elon Musk's assault on our democracy. Our communities made stronger by dedicated civil servants like Claire, and I am proud to stand in solidarity with them. And with that, I'm happy to yield the floor to Claire to share her story.
Thank you. Oh, I got it, thank you. Even I am standing up today. Until Valentine's Day, I worked for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in Boston. I woke up that morning and I had no idea that it would be my last day in federal service. Today, my former colleagues have no idea if it would be theirs. I'm here today because I believe in my agency's mission to protect the rights of Americans under fair housing laws. To the American people, I took an oath to serve this country. If we lose more public servants, more people will become homeless. Our elderly and people with disabilities will lose life-saving support. Grants won't be processed. Life-saving research will cease. Phone lines to assistance will run dead. Fraud, waste, and abuse will go unchecked, and so much more. Without federal workers, our communities won't be stronger or more efficient. They'll be more vulnerable. To Donald Trump, I grieve that you felt you had to let me and so many others go because of your misguided reasons. But I grieve even more the loss that Americans across the nation will feel if you continue down this path. I know firsthand that you are not saving this country by terminating federal workers. You are failing us. My story is the canary in the coal mine. Terminating our federal workers is a loss we cannot afford, and it will only get worse. I urge the American people to support federal workers so that we may continue to serve you and this nation. Thank you so much.
Reverend Brown, I keep hearing you say amen, huh? Amen. Amen. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. That was just beautiful. Thank you. And over there fighting in the House of Representatives every single day, Doge and all that it represents as a threat to Boston and to our country. Representative Stephen Lynch. Come on up, Steve.
Thank you, Ed.
Before somebody falls.
Thanks, Senator. Great to be here with my colleagues. I know much has been said, and I don't want to repeat what has already been said, but just to emphasize how extreme the situation is now, you know, for many, many years, Republicans and Democrats on the Hill agreed that veterans were a priority for ourselves and for our country. And yet, back in August, this was before the current president came into office, we did a review with the Inspector General for the VA, and they came back with a report on all of the VA facilities and hospitals across the United States. In that report, it said we're about 3,000 people short at the VA. 86% of the VA facilities lacked a medical officer. 82% of the facilities, including the VA hospitals, 170 of them across the country, lacked enough nurses. So we were already about 3,000 people in the hole. Then Donald Trump comes in, lays off 1,000 people in the first week. 3 weeks later, lays off another 1,400. So now we're 5,400 people short at the VA. And on top of that, so many people have been laid off in the benefits department that there is currently today, as we stand here, a backlog of 250,000 cases at the VA, which translates into very, very long wait times for veterans who either need treatment, need appointments with their VA docs, or need to have their disability determination resolved by the VA. So that's what's happening here. They are punching down at people who, remember, VA benefits are different. Veterans' benefits are different. Veterans' benefits are for services already rendered. So these men and women have put on the uniform. They have lived up to their obligation honorably, with great courage and service to their country, and they are being treated like this. That is patently wrong. And we have to stand up for every single veteran out there. We are blessed. Ayanna and I have 3 wonderful VA hospitals in our district. We have Roxbury, we have West Roxbury, we have Jamaica Plain, and Brockton in my district. And we have heroic nurses and docs and therapists and staff that take care of our veterans every single day. And they should not be treated like this. You know, we've lost a part of our soul when we can't even recognize the value that veterans have contributed to this country, you know, through their own sacrifice. There's going to be a hearing tomorrow, and I know the mayor is here. I guess we're going to call her up in a minute, but she's been asked to testify before our committee. And Ayanna and I are both members of that committee, and we will be there to defend her. But the threat is that the Republicans want to cut off funding for the city of Boston, federal funding for the city of Boston. Much of what we rely on that Senator Warren and Senator Markey and Jim McGovern and others have spoken to already, and Catherine has spoken as well. The Medicaid benefits that help 40% of our community health centers, the budget, 40% of that budget is covered by Medicaid. But that cannot happen. We should not be punished because of the generosity and the kindness of the people of Boston. So that bill has to go down, and we're calling upon our Republican colleagues to stand with us, because no city should be, especially one that is safer than a lot of the other cities around the country, we should not be punished for the decency that we show to others. And it's a sad statement of where this country is today under the leadership of Elon Musk and Donald Trump. So I'm very proud of the delegation that stands beside me and behind me. This is a moment. This is a test. This is a test of our democracy and of who we are as a people. So I'm enormously proud to have my colleagues with me, and I have every hope and belief in our success at the end of the day. Thank you.
I think we all feel very good about a team of Ayanna and Steve on the field together. That's going to be, something. So, so we're all here for the same purpose, and that is to focus upon the Trump agenda and what it means for the city of Boston and the state of Massachusetts, because Boston is the economic engine of our state, and it is also kind of the beating moral heartbeat of not just Massachusetts, but of the whole country. We think we're a special place. We know we are. And we do not like to see our city be attacked. And that's why we're all here, and that's why we want to hear right now from our great mayor, Michelle Wu. Welcome.
Well, I just happened to be in the neighborhood. And it's great to see so many friends, leaders, fighters on behalf of the residents of Boston and Massachusetts, of course, in elected office at the federal level, and also taking care of our communities in each of the ways that the leaders here and those who spoke represent and do every day. I want to thank each and every one of you for all that you are doing here in DC on behalf of our residents. And I want to thank you for standing up today and every day for Massachusetts and for Boston, for our values and for our people. I want to recognize some of the posse that we're here with today as well. Reverend Jeffrey Brown, pastor at Roxbury's historic 12th Baptist Church. Rabbi Jeremy Burton, CEO of the Greater Boston Jewish Community Relations Council. The Honorable Geraldine Hines of the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court, retired. You heard from Madam President Chrissy Lynch of the Massachusetts AFL-CIO. Executive Director Carol Rose of the ACLU of Massachusetts. And La Presidenta and CEO of La Colaborativa, Gladys Vega. So as grateful as I am to stand here with all of you, my first choice is always to be back at home in Boston. It's to be at home with our residents and families, with the business owners and faith leaders, educators, first responders, and neighborhood groups, continuing to do the work that has made Boston the safest major city in the country. There is so much that we are proud of back at home that has made our progress together possible, and there's still so much work that we are looking to do together. I'd be at home doing that work right now, but I will never back down from an opportunity to defend Boston, to defend our residents, and to defend all that we have accomplished together. So the truth is that I could not be more proud to stand alongside these leaders. I, every day, live a dream. I get to wake up and go to work for the residents of the greatest city in the world. I get to do that work in the most beautiful building in the world, alongside the greatest colleagues in the world. I can take the subway system, the very first in the country, on my morning commute. And if the weather's nice, I can get off a stop early and walk out into the first public park in the country. In the 2 blocks it takes to get from the historic Boston Common to Boston City Hall, I can pass the resting places of 3 of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. But Boston's greatness isn't limited to our history. Today, we are a city determined to learn from our history, proud of what we got right, and unafraid of learning from what we got wrong. We continue to invest in the public good, in programs and resources that empower all of our families to thrive. And that's why we've made museums and cultural institutions free in our city for every student, pre-K through 12, and their families on Boston Family Days. It's why we built the most affordable housing in a generation, provided the most ever paid summer jobs for our young people, added the most pre-K seats at no cost to families, and invested millions more in our Black and Latino businesses than at any other time in our history. We are a city that throws open the doors of opportunity for all of our residents at a time when this administration in the White House is slamming them shut. We are a city that believes in science and thrives on discovery. We are the home of groundbreaking innovations and world-class care at a time when this administration is cutting funding for life-saving research. We're a city made up of colleges and universities, labs and startups, nonprofits, small businesses, civic organizations, neighborhood groups, all working hand in hand with our government to make life better for every one of our neighbors. We are the city where people come to do good in the world at a time when this administration seems dead set on the opposite. We're a city that opens our arms and offers a hand when this administration is more interested in turning its back. So that's why I'm so proud to stand here with this delegation and with these leaders, proud to be here, standing with you for our city, and I also can't wait to go home and get back to work.
Beautiful. Good job. Yeah, are there any questions?
Here we go, Mayor Wu.
Tomorrow, I believe I will have many more questions asked of me than I'll be able to do the talking, but I'm looking forward to sharing all of the great work that Boston does, explaining the many, many hands and many partners and collaborators that are behind all that we've accomplished and why we are the safest major city in the country. You know, I'm here to stand up for Boston, and you can put me in any situation, and I will gladly do so with a smile on my face. For me, you know, this is a very serious responsibility. It's a chance to testify before Congress, and I'm going to represent the city and the many, many stories of residents that I've heard as I've been having conversations about what our community members want Congress to know. But what really matters, what's real, is what's happening on the streets, in our schools, in homes, and in community centers and libraries back in Boston. And so whatever the tone of conversation, you know, I hope it will be a productive dialogue, but I know why I do this work, and I know why we are all working so hard every day, even in very difficult situations, because our residents back at home have so much more on their plates that they are working for and fighting for and just trying to do right by their families. And so the least that I or any of us could do is to be here standing up for them.
Can you address the price tag of the horse charming? We'll do that on the side. Oh, we'll do it gathered on the side.
Okay, good.
Hi, good to see you, Mayor Wu. Wanted to ask what the coordination's been like with other mayors heading into tomorrow. Do you plan to approach the hearing as a team, as kind of every mayor themselves? I know you can't give away full strategy, but can you talk about that?
I have known some of these mayors, and we have had been in different spaces together, but we haven't talked much about the the substance of the hearing or planning anything or coordinating. Certainly, our teams have been in contact because one big coordination was pushing back the original date by a little bit. I received the letter, I think a week after I had given birth, or maybe 2 weeks afterwards, and so it's really appreciated having the extra time and the coordination with everyone, all the other cities as well, to make sure I could be here in a little bit after having recovered from having a baby, and to then be fully present.
We hear from Congressman Chrisley and Congressman Lynch about what you see your role as tomorrow, what you will do when Republicans, we know how it goes. So can you give us an idea how you approach tomorrow in your role?
Well, you know, our role on the Oversight Committee is to be, in the words of my mentee, may he rest in peace and power, Elijah Cummings, to be an efficient and effective pursuit of the truth. And so I see my role as one to combat misinformation, disinformation, to defend our mayor, our city, and the people who call it home.
I'm hoping that we can.
It's like they can't think they get us together. They're like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping we can have as the mayor has described, a thoughtful and productive dialogue. But, you know, what I've seen recently, and if you see the trailer, so what they're doing now is, there was earlier times in our country when this happened, but what they're doing right now is the Republican chairman and other members of that committee are raising money, fundraising, off of the spectacle that they're putting out there. So that's why you saw the movie trailer that said, you know, Mayor Wu is coming to town, and here's what we got in store for her. So they're ginning this up so they can raise money off of it. So this happened a couple of times in our country. Back in the 30s, you know, they had the House Committee on Un-American Activities. And a lot of those legislators, people read back in the history, they did the same thing. They appealed to conservative elements in our society and raised a ton of money off of it. And then Senator Joe McCarthy did the same thing. He raised a ton of money from, you know, falsely identifying people as enemies of the state. So this is just one more example. This, in my opinion, it's going to be a federal building. It's a federal room. It's federal offices. It's all government paid for, and they're deriving a personal benefit from that. So I think it's of questionable legality, number one, what they're doing, and number two, it is an abuse of power. An abuse of power to but to call forth our mayors to testify on this, you know, under this spotlight and spectacle, and amidst all this calumny and you know, false accusations that have no basis in fact. So.
Last question. Softballs while the other guys are throwing these beanballs?
No, I think there are some meritorious issues underlying this whole situation between, you know, congressional authority under Article 1, Section 8 to as the Constitution says, to establish a uniform system of immigration, and then not fulfilling that obligation, and then when mayors have to deal with the consequences of the lack of a viable and coherent immigration policy, they're dealing with our inability to get that done. So they're you know, this is an insult added to injury. You know, if we were doing our job and had a comprehensive, thoughtful immigration policy in place, you probably wouldn't be seeing Mayor Wu in the situation that she finds herself in, or the governor of Massachusetts spending $1.5 billion because we haven't maintained a regulated and reliable immigration system at the border. You know, so we own some of this, but you know, I think it's totally unfair to point at Mayor Wu and lay the blame at her feet.
Beautiful. So thank you all so much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here.
Good to see you.
Wow. Wow.